May Day, our day. As the specter of unemployment stalks the land, around comes May Day, a day set aside for the working class, those who build and built this nation, brick by brick. Not just a day of idle salute, but a day to build more, a day to build social power, a day to strengthen our forces, a day of workers' unity. Also, a day to unite with the unemployed, to bring them in. In the wake of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, one of the most brutal attacks on workers in the late 20th century, we have seen the dwindling of the working class, an attack on wages, an all-out assault on pensions, grand theft writ large. It's time for workers and trade unions to join hands with all others in their class, to build, once again, social power, to build a better tomorrow. On the move. Workers' power is social power. From Imprisoned Nation, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noelle Hanrahan of Prison Radio. On the move, long live John Africa. There are only two peoples living on the land we call America who weren't immigrants, the indigenous so-called Indians and African Americans, who were dragged here in chains and terror. Every other person immigrated here, or his ancestors did, from Europe, from China, from India, from Ireland, and yes, from Mexico. Truth be told, America was a land of Spanish settlement long before it became English, and there's the rub. The brouhaha over immigration today is mostly a fear of the browning of America. Imagine that. The people who originally lived in what's now California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, easily a third of what's now known as the United States, are to be seen as permanent outsiders, invaders even, because of their brown skins, their Spanish speech, their Catholicism, and their unremitting hunger for land and labor. On this May Day, the day sanctified to labor, how can we turn our backs on some of the hardest working people in America? Don't alienate them. Organize them. Bring them into the Farm Workers Union. Draft them into a National Carpenters Union. After all, ain't they workers? Celebrate May Day by building workers' movements. On the move, Viva May Day. From death row, this is Mumia Abu.
May Day amidst global mayhem. As May approaches, the day celebrated for over a century as an emblem of workers' power, May Day, seems to have become a symbol of its fall. That's because as the economic system has gone through shocks, aftershocks, and tremors, social and communal wealth has been funneled to banking and corporate interests, bailouts for billionaires, while workers have faced at best a plague of cutbacks, at worst mass layoffs and firings, as businesses reorganize by being even more antagonistic to labor. Marx and Engels rightly determined that the modern state is but the executive committee of the bourgeoisie. Why else would the world's economic powers pour hundreds of billions into corporate coffers, virtually no questions asked, while dropping a pittance like coins in the cup to workers and their families? May Day began in America in the midst of the Haymarket Rebellion of the 1800s, in struggle for the 40-hour week and an end to child labor. May Day still represents worker struggle in America, in Europe, in Africa, and Asia, against state and corporate repression and greed. In a nutshell, capitalism is in severe crises, and the phony wars and very real rise of cronyism are but mirrors of that crisis. If workers are to use their billions to change the world, they must join together across false barriers to build a new and better world where life and liberty are more precious than profit. It's not only possible, it's necessary. From death row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noelle Hanrahan of Prison Radio. May Day for the many. On the move, long live John Africa. As May Day is celebrated by some, Others focus on the minor notes played by immigrants, and the song they sing is of anger, hatred, and division. But that's because they're being played by the corporate media, the corporate-driven state, and the siren song of nationalism. May Day should be a day of workers' celebration. But what's there to celebrate today? Joblessness? Foreclosures? Homelessness? May Day would be a day of celebration if workers organized across national borders. Imagine if the UAW joined not only with auto workers in Canada, but in Mexico as well. Wouldn't it be more powerful today than it is? But the crippling of unions can be traced to the NAFTA agreement, the North American Free Trade Agreement, pushed and sold under Bill Clinton, a base betrayal of millions who voted for him from labor to serve corporate greed. NAFTA shipped manufacturing jobs to places where labor was cheaper, like Mexico. It also opened up Mexican markets to U.S. businesses, thus driving those markets out of business and fueling the immigration north for millions of Mexicans seeking jobs. When labor organizes globally, it protects jobs globally. NAFTA globalized capital. Why not globalize unionized labor? Until this happens, workers will continue to lose jobs. I thank you. On the move. Long live John Africa. From death row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Noelle Hanrahan of Prison Radio.